Did you see that? Look over there. Look over there. Oh, never mind. It's a fence post. Bro, I cannot believe this thermal. It's amazing. Nothing can hide from me. I don't even have to train. What do you think's more likely to still be alive? A Velociraptor or a T-Rex? What's your favorite 90s song of all time? Bet you can't guess mine. And she said, like, you're not committed. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not committed. And I told her she just needs to respect that. Dude, did you hear that? I think I heard something. Is there something out in front? Dude, I'm finally gonna get a shot at something.
You fools made gear your god.
Photonis just rocked the industry with their new 50-degree field of view optics, dubbed the Boomslang optics. When running night vision, one of the biggest limiting factors is going to be the 40-degree field of view that standard optics are going to provide. What this does is it creates sort of a tunnel effect and limits what you can actually see from your peripheral. With the Boomslang glass, you're getting the clarity you're used to seeing from 40-degree optics, but you're gaining an additional 10 degrees field of view. Even better is the fact that Photonis is now offering the Boomslang optics as a standard option in the Viper 14 or even the Viper binocular night vision devices. We purchased and have been running this glass for some time, and we've been very pleased with the additional field of view that the optics are providing, as well as the performance of the optics. We've long raved about the quality of Photonis image intensifier tubes. Now save time and headache by combining the advantages of Photonis tubes with the added visual information that you're going to gain from the Boomslang optics. There are three ways that you can currently get into the Boomslang optics. You can purchase either the Viper 14 monocular, or you can purchase the Viper binocular and select the Boomslang optics on our product pages on our website. Lastly, you can send in your PVS 14 and we can upgrade your current 40-degree glass to 50-degree Boomslang optics. While Photonis did not pay for this shout out, we are a dealer and we do stock Photonis products. Purchasing Photonis products from our website obviously financially benefits us, but rest assured, we only speak about what we believe in. All pertinent information can be found at the links in the description and arcane.com on the Boomslang optics. Seize the night.
The average lifespan is approximately 79 years. During that time, you will sleep approximately 1/3 of your life away in darkness. In the midst of all of this time, this darkness envelops you. For thousands of years, humans have used archaic methods to light the darkness, to see, navigate, function, and survive. We're not gifted with the natural ability of night vision, so we must compensate. In the age of comfort, the tendency to be incapable is thriving. Existing in this darkness with capability is a worthy pursuit, a calling few will answer, few will consider. From September through May, I experience over 10 hours of darkness per day, and I am equipped for it.
So you watched one of our recent videos, Thermal Will Get You Killed, and at this point, you're hell-bent on getting that thermal imaging device that you've always wanted. Well, I've got news for you. A well-seasoned and well-trained operator of night vision could absolutely demolish you in the darkness. That is, if you are unprepared, untrained, and have not tested the systems you've implemented. If you are shocked and thinking that this is some level of hypocrisy, Please don't be confused. Thermal is still the king of detection and identification in the darkness. We talked about that extensively in the last video for that reason. But if you notice one major fact on all of our dual band helmets, night vision is always present as well. We always couple a PVS-14 next to our thermal devices. Many people got really upset at how we framed the conversation, and they completely skimmed over the fact that we do not descend into the darkness with thermal alone. This is because night vision still plays a vital role in these night operations. The intention of this video is to discuss just that. Understanding the strengths and limitations of night vision is the difference between being killed by it in the darkness or surviving with it in the darkness. I'm gonna break this down into several categories that I feel night vision dominates thermal. And if you overlook these traits of night vision, you might just be the one being dominated in the darkness. If you desire to see the weaknesses of night vision compared to strengths of thermal, watch that other video at the end of this video titled "Thermal Will Get You Killed." Before I get into that, let's define what night vision is and how it differs from thermal imaging. Night vision in its most basic form takes existing ambient light, processes it through an image intensifier tube, and amplifies the visible data to your eyeball. It's much more complex than that, but let's keep it simple by understanding that night vision requires some ambient light, whether or not your eye can see it, to amplify and thus function. Thermal imaging operates on a longer frequency wave in the infrared spectrum. Therefore, it does not rely on ambient light to function. Thermal imaging detects heat signatures at its most basic form. Again, I covered this more in depth in the previous video. Just understand that they are different, how they work is very different, and where they shine is also very different, with a few overlapping areas to discuss. You cannot and should not use the words night vision and thermal interchangeably. They are different. Let's break down why night vision is still important and viable for these night games and operations. The first area I want to cover is mobility. I'm breaking this down into two subcategories. First, the mobility on foot, and second, vehicular mobility. Then I want to touch on marksmanship and shooting with fighting rifles. After that, we'll discuss urban environments. I also want to briefly discuss functions of night vision that are, in my opinion, better than thermal. Last, I want to discuss briefly how I will describe prioritizing thermal versus night vision gear and what you should consider first. If you told me that my sole objective was to navigate to a certain location in the cover of darkness, I immediately will gravitate towards night vision. Foot travel with night vision, whether with a PVS-14 or binos, is more seamless than thermal binoculars due to the image you are seeing and the way that the units function. Night vision gives you similar data inputs to your daytime vision, minus colors and shades of colors. The basic functions of moving around, picking things up, depth perception, and general ability to get where you want to go make night vision a better option when we are strictly talking about moving around and navigating in the darkness. What if I needed to sprint to a different location? Running is much the same and equally seamless to slowly moving around with night vision. You're affording a much more natural depth perception with night vision versus thermal imaging binoculars. It's hard to describe, but thermal really does skew the distance of objects and your ability to determine those distances. This can absolutely be mastered with training, but it is something to consider. Driving is another area where night vision dominates. This is largely due to two factors. Thermal cannot see through glass, and second, night vision affords a more natural refresh rate and depth perception that closely resembles your normal vision. This is true whether you run a PVS-14 binocular or a bino, although the binocular device will have a distinct advantage over a monocular when you are driving or moving at faster speeds. Further, this is where panoramic night vision really shines, although it is priced out of nearly everyone's budgets. A happy medium is running something like the Photonis Vipers on my head with 50-degree glass to gather as much peripheral data as possible. This is why we stock and sell the Viper with 50-degree glass. When you're ripping along at 60 miles an hour on your Supermoto or 6 miles an hour on your e-bike, the visible data that you gather makes that very possible. Now, the 10-degree field of view increase does not sound like a lot, but it changes everything. Overwhelmingly, folks that are driving cars, boats, motorcycles, or flying any sort of aircraft will need to rely on night vision. Thermal simply is not up to the task. Sure, you could use vehicle-mounted thermal to scan while you're driving, but you're not driving with that thermal. You're still going to use night vision. The one aspect to keep in mind that I feel is critically important is that it is extremely simple to hide from night vision. Truthfully, you don't even need camouflage in most situations. The right colors and staying still is often all you need to hide from nods. Thermal has a distinct advantage in detection, which is why we bring it with us even when we're navigating with our night vision. Now let's talk about marksmanship and shooting with fighting rifles. Night vision does afford the ability to shoot passively at a lower dollar amount than putting cash into a quality thermal scope and night vision at the same time. This is where I'm about 50-50 with which route I would go. Modern thermal scopes have gotten so good that even when I have my binos on my head, my rifle will often have a thermal scope on it. However, a quality red dot and the correct riser will allow a shooter to aim and shoot accurately passively without a huge investment. This is a distinct advantage to anyone who has a red dot with night vision settings and a PVS-14. And further, night vision allows users to utilize laser aiming devices to illuminate and point out targets. While this is not as distinct of an advantage now that night vision is more proliferated, it still affords the ability. This is yet another area where Photonis shines because it can see out-of-band laser emitters that standard Gen 3 night vision cannot. Users can utilize lasers up to the 1100 nanometer spectrum with Photonis tubes and see clearly. Those with L3 or L-bit tubes will not be able to see your illumination or laser. Being able to illuminate through glass to see potential targets is also an obvious advantage of night vision over thermal binoculars. Thermal does not utilize supplemental illumination due to its position and function on that IR spectrum. This can be problematic depending on conditions where you have nearly a whiteout condition with thermal due to weather conditions, and there really isn't anything that you can do about it other than adjusting settings. Don't get me wrong, inclement weather can also diminish the ability of night vision to see in the dark as well. Neither is a perfect magic pill. There's many options for clip-on night vision as well, although once we get into this realm, I'm leaning very heavily on thermal imaging scopes to take shots. That's why I said I was about a 50-50 split. I see the value in having a rifle set up with a laser and a way to passively aim with nods, but there's tremendous value in thermal imaging as a primary night optic as well, and I'll touch on that here again in a bit. Urban environments pose a clear challenge for thermal imaging simply due to the amount of glass and hot objects that exist. Thermal imaging cannot see through glass, so in a hostile situation inside a city, there will be many areas that you will not be able to see into with thermal imaging alone. Is it starting to become more and more clear why we focus so heavily on dual band systems? I hope it is. Night vision in an urban environment affords the most capabilities. Does that mean that there's no place for thermal? Absolutely not. But urban and higher lighting situations that are centered around buildings with glass pose entirely different challenges. Thermal is certainly more at home in the wilderness and countryside. Anytime I'm riding my supermoto or walking in urban environments, I'm rocking my binos, hands down. I want the performance of my Photonis 4G tubes in highlight conditions. I want the ability to punch into dark corners with IR illumination. I want the ability to move seamlessly and quickly without detection. This is likely creating a question inside of your head right now. Which should you be prioritizing? And that's a complex conversation, but I'll certainly take a swing at it and try to break down my opinion on the matter. Keep in mind, this is just one dude's opinion, and I'm not speaking gospel here. People on my team might even have different opinions than me, so weigh what I say, measure it against your needs, and make your own decisions from there. The underlying reason why I think that you should have some sort of night capabilities is my desire to see our nation equipped as modern Minutemen. A community of people who are prepared for anything that our world will throw at us. Like it or not, night vision plays an important role in that conversation. Because of that, I think more people should be planning for and acquiring night vision gear. But where should a normal person start? My natural response is that you should start with whatever you can afford. Endless debt for gear that you likely don't even train with enough is reckless. Buying the right gear in the right order is the difficult part to nail down. Your situation will absolutely dictate what I would recommend, and if after this video you're ready to get into some nods or thermal, but you're not sure exactly what to get, consider scheduling a call with one of our experts at Arcane. I will put a direct link to that service in the description below. Generally, I will recommend that people establish a realistic budget first. Let's say you have a $6,000 budget. You can either get a complete helmet setup with a PVS-14, or you could likely get one thermal imaging scope. So which is better? Well, that depends. Generally speaking, most of us are on a tighter budget, and because of that, it is critically important that we buy the right setup the first time. I'm not a spec nerd. I don't care about the FOM of your tube. What I care about is training with what I have to become the best that I can be. And you should too. I typically would say that the best formula for today's world for anyone who eventually wants to add helmet-mounted thermal is this. Purchase a quality PVS 14, but nothing too fancy or expensive. Contrary to popular belief, your L3 tube does not make you a god in the darkness. After getting your monocular, I typically would recommend going right into a bridge that can accept a thermal monocular at a later time. We usually mount these bridges with G24 mounts, but we do have other options on our website as well. A quality helmet like my Team Wendy bump is also a very wise decision at this point. If you grabbed a Photonis Viper 14, you're about $3,100 into the unit. The G24 is about $500. The bump helmet's around $400 and the bridge is $500 to $600. A quality helmet setup will land you around $4,500 to have functionality in the darkness. Down the road, you could add a thermal monocular next to your PVS 14, and you can quickly see how these prices compound. But in that formula, you have another $1,500 that you can invest to get your rifle dialed in. And for me, that looks like putting a Surefire 640V and a red dot with night vision settings onto that build. I also make sure that my primary EDC carry pistol is night vision compatible. At that point, I have a rifle and pistol that I can passively aim with a PVS 14 and a quality helmet setup. This is the most common pathway that our customers are taking. In years past, folks would eventually want to get into a binocular device after a 14. Nowadays, people are leaning more and more into dual band systems for the obvious capability increase that they're going to offer. If your primary focus is riding dirt bikes fast, driving, flying, a binocular night vision device is still going to be king. So you'd want to follow a similar helmet setup, but you only need the G24 or similar mount and you would not need the bridge. That's a more expensive night vision route, but necessary for high-speed movement in the darkness. Last, if you are more into hunting than anything, and defensive life and liberty is sort of a secondary consideration, heading right into thermal might be a good move for you personally. The complex part about this is to be truly well-rounded, we each should have a dual band system, a laser on our rifles and IR illumination, as well as a dedicated thermal and a way to passively aim like an offset red dot. But setups like the ones we run can quickly pass the $20,000 range. And that doesn't even factor in the ammo for training, the rifle itself, your pistol, etc. I recognize that for most people that is not obtainable, but $6,000 for a monocular is. The benefit is future compatibility with thermal monoculars that are rapidly expanding capability year after year. Budget thermal monoculars like the Rix SD6 exist, and they are much more palatable for many people due to the price point. The TLDR version is most people will benefit from running monocular night vision first to keep the cost low. Invest in a quality bridge instead of spending a ton on a G11 that you're eventually going to toss away. Plan for the future, buy stuff that helps you now and later. Thermal is great, but if all you have is thermal, you are missing a critical piece of the equation. Ultimately, the best setup taps into both realms, but that likely isn't possible for most people. The key is creating setups that are forward-thinking and expandable and not locking ourselves into something you have to spend a ton of money on to get out of. A lot to think about, I know. Night vision gives you the ability to climb obstacles, traverse terrain, walk, run, ride a bike, drive, fly, and navigate in the darkness. It has its drawbacks, sure. It needs some ambient light, like the moon or stars, in order to function. It does not work as well as thermal for detecting and identifying targets. It's often more expensive compared to today's thermal. It's not advancing as rapidly as thermal is, but it does give you functions that thermal simply cannot. For that reason, I think operating in the darkness without night vision could get you killed. And if you suck with your night vision, your confidence in night vision might get you killed as well. It's a two-edged sword. Just remember, your gear only supports your baseline training. If you have the coolest gear in tech, but you lack basic skills and training, you simply will become a loot drop, and nobody wants that. Couple your gear acquisition with a structured plan and training. Then build a community and network of people doing the same thing. Through building this community and network and training together, that's how we can truly realize the teeth that are enshrined in our Constitution. My objective is to break down these cultural topics and hopefully send you away with more information and a clear pathway in your own life. I do my best to keep the information palatable, and I typically stay out of the weeds. I think the world of night vision and thermal is often made far more complex than it needs to be. I've seen intentional bad information being spread, companies who don't care about the customers purchasing the gear, and people gatekeeping good gear from citizens. We are a company devoted to citizens first. Our objective at TA Targets is to equip you with the best steel targets for training that money can buy. And we back them up with a warranty because you deserve only the best. Likewise, our company Arcane exists to educate and inspire you all to exercise your God-given rights. Nobody can take those rights away from you if you're well-trained, well-equipped, and part of a broader community. Because of this vision of having every citizen equipped and capable of fending off tyrants, we make media like this. The reality is this is not free. As you've noticed, we don't run obnoxious paid ads for random companies making products we don't even use. We do this ourselves, and we partner with whoever we want, and we only answer to ourselves. It is wildly expensive to pay our team, to test the gear, and to create the content. For that reason, I'm asking for your help and support. Consider doing the following. Shop the TA Targets page, invest in US manufacturing, support a company that believes in the foundation of this country, one who says, forget the government, we want to equip citizens first. That's our focus, getting you trained up. Shop the Arcane website. Arcane is a rapidly growing brand at a wild pace. We are equipping thousands of US citizens with fighting gear that goes toward making them more capable. We encourage excellence in training and equipping with realistic gear to solve real problems. Consider also subscribing to our newsletters. Each brand has its own newsletter, and we put out solid information about once a month on those channels. Support our Patreon account to help fund this page as well. And grab some gear from any of our sites. Even if you just grab a t-shirt, it goes a long way in supporting the cause, and it's greatly appreciated. Thank you to the tens of thousands of you who have bought our products, supported our vision and our missions, and have planted a flag on a hill stating tyranny be damned. See y'all in the next video.